Remember when Back to the Future promised us flying cars by 2015? Well, it's 2026 now, and we're still waiting. Or are we? In the last few years, something remarkable has happened. Companies have stopped just talking about personal flying vehicles and started actually building them. We've seen test flights, regulatory approvals, and even the first commercial operations beginning. So today, we're cutting through the hype to answer one critical question: are personal flying vehicles finally becoming real, or is this just another round of overpromising and underdelivering? I'm going to show you what's actually flying right now, what the technology can and can't do, the massive challenges that still remain, and whether you'll actually be commuting by air anytime soon. Let's dive in. What's actually flying today? First, let's get our terminology straight. When we talk about personal flying vehicles today, we're mostly talking about eVTOLs, that's electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. These aren't the flying cars of science fiction. They are more like large drones designed to carry people. Here's what's actually in the air right now. Joby Aviation has logged thousands of test flights with their 5-seater eVTOL. In 2024, they completed a 523-mile hydrogen-powered test flight and began certification processes with the FAA. They're planning commercial operations as early as 2026. Archer Aviation started production of their Midnight aircraft in 2024. They've secured partnerships with United Airlines and have plans to launch air taxi services in major cities. Their aircraft can carry 4 passengers plus a pilot for trips up to 100 miles. Volocopter in Germany has been conducting demonstration flights in urban environments. They flew during the Paris Olympics prep and are working toward commercial launch in European cities. EHang in China has already begun commercial operations, delivering what they call autonomous aerial vehicle services. They received production certification in 2024 and have been conducting paying passenger flights. And then there's Jetsun ONE, a single-seat personal eVTOL that regular people can actually buy right now for around $90,000. It's more like a recreational aircraft than a commuter vehicle, but it exists and people are flying it. So yes, personal flying vehicles are real and they're flying. But notice what I didn't say. I didn't say they're common, I didn't say they're affordable for most people, and I didn't say they're replacing cars. That's where things get complicated. The technology, how they work. Let's talk about how these machines actually work, because understanding the technology helps us understand the limitations. Most eVTOLs use multiple electric rotors for vertical takeoff and landing. Some transition to forward flight using separate propulsion, while others use the same rotors throughout the flight. The electric part is crucial because electric motors are simpler, quieter, and more reliable than traditional combustion engines. The advantages are real. Battery-powered means lower operating costs per mile compared to helicopters. No jet fuel, less maintenance, fewer moving parts to brake. Multiple rotors provide redundancy. If one fails, the others can compensate. This is actually safer than traditional helicopters in some ways. They're significantly quieter than helicopters. Not silent, but quiet enough that urban operations might actually be tolerable for people on the ground. But here come the limitations. Battery technology is the fundamental constraint. Current lithium-ion batteries provide range of only 20 to 100 miles depending on the aircraft and conditions. Compare that to a car that can go 300 to 400 miles on a charge. Flight time is typically 15 to 30 minutes before recharging is needed. Charging takes anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours depending on the system. Weather sensitivity is significant. These aircraft struggle in high winds, heavy rain, or low visibility more than traditional aircraft. They can't fly in all conditions. The energy required for vertical takeoff is enormous. Taking off and landing vertically uses a massive amount of battery power, which is why the range is so limited. And here's something most promotional videos won't tell you. These vehicles are actually less energy efficient per passenger mile than cars for short trips. The energy cost of fighting gravity is just that high. They only become competitive on longer trips where they save significant time, or in areas where ground infrastructure is terrible. The infrastructure challenge. Even if the aircraft technology was perfect tomorrow, we'd still have a massive infrastructure problem. Unlike cars, eVTOLs can't just land anywhere. They need dedicated landing pads called vertiports. These need to be strategically located, integrated with ground transportation, and equipped with charging infrastructure. Building a network of vertiports in a major city requires enormous investment. We're talking hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. Who pays for that? And where do you even put them in dense urban environments where every square foot is valuable? Some companies are planning to use existing helipads initially, but there aren't nearly enough of those to create a useful network. Others are proposing rooftop vertiports on parking garages or buildings, but that requires structural upgrades and regulatory approvals that take years. The charging problem. If these aircraft take 30 minutes to charge between flights, you need multiple aircraft per landing pad to maintain continuous service. That multiplies your infrastructure costs significantly. Fast charging technology helps, but it also degrades batteries faster. There's always a trade-off. Air traffic control. Our current air traffic control system was not designed for hundreds or thousands of small aircraft flying at low altitudes in urban areas. We need entirely new systems for managing this traffic, probably using automation and AI. NASA and the FAA are working on something called UAM traffic management, urban air mobility traffic management, but it's still in development. Without this system working reliably, you can't scale these operations safely. Imagine rush hour traffic, but in 3 dimensions, with vehicles that can't just pull over if something goes wrong. The complexity is staggering. Regulatory reality check. Let's talk about the regulatory elephant in the room. Getting a new type of aircraft certified is not like getting a new car approved. It typically takes 5 to 10 years and costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Every system must be proven safe under all foreseeable conditions. The FAA has created new certification pathways specifically for eVTOLs, which is actually encouraging. They recognize this is a new category of aircraft that doesn't fit neatly into existing rules. But faster than before still means years, not months. Current regulatory status. In the United States, several companies are in the type certification process, but none have completed it yet. Joby and Archer are among the furthest along. The FAA has indicated that initial operations will require a pilot on board. Fully autonomous operations are much further away from approval. Other countries are moving at different speeds. China has been more aggressive with approvals. Europe has its own EASA certification process. This means global companies need multiple certifications. The pilot shortage. Here's an irony: even when these aircraft are certified, there's a massive shortage of pilots. Training someone to fly an eVTOL requires hundreds of hours and significant expense. If you need pilots for every flight, your operating costs go way up and your ability to scale is limited. This is why companies are investing heavily in autonomous flight systems. Not because they want to eliminate pilots out of principle, but because the economics don't work with a pilot for every short hop. But autonomous flight in urban environments with passengers on board? That's an extremely high bar for regulatory approval, probably a decade or more away. The economics. Who can actually afford this? Let's talk money, because this is where the hype meets reality. Early estimates suggest that air taxi rides will cost $3 to $6 per mile initially. For a 20-mile trip, that's $60 to $120. Compare that to an Uber, which might be $30 to $40 for the same distance. Yes, the eVTOL gets you there faster, potentially saving 30 to 45 minutes. But you're paying double or triple the price. Companies say costs will come down as they scale, potentially to $1 to $2 per mile. But eventually is doing a lot of work in that sentence. It requires mass production, high utilization rates, minimal regulation, and infrastructure already in place. The business model problem. To make the economics work, these aircraft need to fly constantly. But they can only fly in good weather, during daylight hours initially, and only where infrastructure exists. That limits utilization rates significantly. Operating costs include aircraft maintenance, charging energy, insurance which is expensive for new aviation technology, vertiport fees, pilot salaries if required, and regulatory compliance costs. Multiple analyses suggest these services need to achieve incredibly high utilization rates to break even, rates that may not be realistic given the operational constraints. The target market. Realistically, initial customers will be high-income business travelers who value time savings above cost. Think executives willing to pay premium prices to avoid traffic between airports and city centers. The middle-class family using this for their daily commute? That's aspirational at best, probably decades away if it happens at all. Investment reality. Companies in this space have raised billions in funding, but they're also burning through cash quickly. Several have failed or merged already. The path to profitability is long and uncertain. The real problems they could solve. Okay, I've been pretty critical, so let's be fair. There are real problems personal flying vehicles could solve. Airport connections. Getting from an airport to a city center in congested areas like Los Angeles, Sao Paulo, or Mumbai can take longer than the flight itself. An eVTOL could cut this from 90 minutes to 15 minutes. This is actually the use case most companies are targeting first. Emergency medical transport. Getting blood, organs, or medical personnel quickly to remote areas or bypassing ground traffic in emergencies. The speed advantage is genuinely life-saving here. Island and coastal communities. Places where water makes ground travel slow but distances are short. Think Greek islands, Indonesia, the Philippines. eVTOLs could be transformative for these communities. Disaster response. When roads are destroyed or flooded, vertical takeoff capability is invaluable for evacuation and delivering supplies. Resource extraction and inspection. Getting workers to offshore oil platforms, wind farms, or remote sites. Inspecting infrastructure like power lines or pipelines. These are proven use cases for helicopters that eVTOLs could do cheaper and cleaner. The pattern here? These vehicles make sense when you need point-to-point travel, ground infrastructure is problematic, distances are moderate, and speed has significant value. What they are not good for, replacing your car for daily errands, long-distance travel, or any situation where ground transport works fine. Realistic timeline, what to expect. So when will you actually be able to use one of these? Here's my realistic timeline. 2026 to 2027, initial commercial operations. Limited air taxi services in a handful of cities. Think Dubai, Los Angeles, Singapore, maybe Tokyo. Very expensive, very limited routes, pilot required, fair weather only. This is for early adopters and wealthy business travelers. 2028 to 2030, expansion phase. More cities, more routes, costs starting to come down. Still premium priced but becoming accessible to upper middle class travelers for special occasions. Infrastructure slowly being built out. Still requires pilots. 2030 to 2035, maturation. Broader networks in major cities, costs approaching 2-3x ground transportation instead of 5-10x. Some smaller autonomous aircraft approved for specific routes. Weather capabilities improving. This is when it might become a regular option for business travelers. 2035 to 2040, mainstream-ish. Costs competitive with ground transportation for time-sensitive trips. Autonomous operations approved in some jurisdictions. Broader use cases emerging. But still not replacing cars for most people. Beyond 2040. Who knows? Technology could advance faster than expected. Or we could hit fundamental limits. Or regulatory hurdles could slow everything down. Or battery technology could have a breakthrough that changes everything. The hype scenario where everyone commutes by air? Not happening in our lifetimes. The realistic scenario where this becomes a viable premium transportation option for specific use cases? That's actually possible within the next decade. Conclusion. So, personal flying vehicles, hype or the future? The honest answer is, both. The hype is real. We're not getting flying cars that replace our daily drivers. We're not getting Jetson-style cities where everyone zooms around in the sky. The physics, economics, and practical constraints make that vision unrealistic. But the future is also real. Electric vertical takeoff aircraft are flying today. They will begin commercial operations in the next couple of years. They will solve real transportation problems in specific contexts. The technology works. The question isn't whether personal flying vehicles will exist, it's what role they'll actually play in our transportation system. And that role will likely be much more modest than the promotional videos suggest. There'll be a premium option for business travelers, a solution for specific geographic challenges, an emergency transport capability, a really cool but expensive way to skip traffic on special occasions. Is that disappointing compared to the science fiction dream? Maybe. But it's still pretty remarkable that we've gone from pure fantasy to actual flying taxis in just a few years. The revolution won't look like we imagined, but it's coming. Just slower, more expensive, and more limited than anyone wanted to admit. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, would you pay double for a flight that saves you 45 minutes? And if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more deep dives on emerging technology. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground and your expectations realistic.